thank you so much for joining us today for Real Estate Rundown. Today our topic is going to be appraisals. I'm Hillary Wesley with Green Door Group, and our guest today is Cade McGehee. He is the owner and operator of MCG Appraisals. And so just tune in and listen up and see what you can find out about appraisals today. Let's start out just the beginning, Cade.
Okay.
What is an appraisal?
Okay, an appraisal is, it's a problem to be solved. So typically how this works is somebody will call in my office or email me and say, hey, we want to buy this house, or we want to sell this house, or or a lender will call us because they're providing a loan, or an attorney will call us. Somebody will engage us to do an appraisal, and so therefore we figure out the problem that needs to be solved. So we figure out where the house is, the location. We figure out the most important attributes of that property. The land is number one, and then we figure out the improvements. And so you're trying to decide with verification of proof within the marketplace based on sales and market data, what our opinion of value would be for that piece of property.
Okay, and so do you have a standard that you go by, like a set,
Yeah, so
scale?
so all appraisals are governed by the body of USPAP. USPAP is our governing body that provides us with all kinds of rules and guidelines, and it's a 800-word document or 800-page document if you want to read it, but it's, we all have to be pretty proficient in that, and it gives us a whole rundown of ethics and judicial review and, how we're supposed to handle ourselves and who we report to and all these things that we have to abide by in every report, no matter who the report's for or what it's for.
Okay, great. So an appraisal and inspections are two things that happen during a real estate transaction. How does an appraisal differ from an inspection?
Okay, so they're first of all, they're two totally different certifications with the state. You can't be an appraiser and an inspector in the state of Texas. Those are two different things, and they don't want you to do both things. They think you have a conflict of interest within that system. So, long story short, an appraisal is determining a market value. Now, the appraiser can see things with their, like an appraisal is done by what you can see with your eyes, and versus what an inspection is, they're testing outlets, they're looking inside plumbing, and they're testing the furnaces and the water heaters and the dishwashers. Like, the appraiser doesn't do those things. So the inspector's making sure that the functional components of a home is working adequately. The appraiser is determining a market value. Okay.
Will the function of a system in the home affect an appraisal?
It can. So for certain transactions, we look to see if they want us to know that the water is operational for some transactions. So then we go turn on the water. I don't know if there's a leak in the line.
Okay, good.
But all I can see is that the water turns on. Same thing is if I turn it to the hot water side to see if the hot water heater is working. Well, I don't know if there's any deficient things inside the hot water heater itself, but I know that the hot water is working. So that's where the inspector is going to be able to determine whether there's a deficiency within the system operational. All I'm going to tell you is that it's working or not.
Perfect. Okay. So you mentioned that there are different kinds of appraisals. There's bank ordered appraisals, independent appraisals.
Sure.
Even sometimes someone who wants to sell their house will have a pre-appraisal done so that they can determine value to set sales price. Can you kind of touch a little bit on the difference between an independent appraisal and a bank?
Yeah. So as I said, all appraisers are governed by the governing body of USPAP. We all have to follow the same instructions, the same parameters. The same idea of an appraisal is the same no matter who you're doing it for. So I still have to follow certain guidelines no matter what. So the idea that an appraisal is different between a lender appraisal, an independent appraisal, a divorce or probate type situation. It's really not. We have to do the appraisal. I'm still looking into the market. I'm basing my judgment based on the location, the features, the quality, all the things that incorporate a property. I've got to determine a credible opinion no matter who it's for. So, and it's based on proof within the market. So there's some benefits to getting pre-appraisals, but for the most part, I try to discourage people from doing that unless it's a unique situation. So I try to encourage people to use a good realtor, to use a realtor that they trust, the realtor that has the data that is credible to price a property before they list it. Because at the end of the day, the appraiser is going to be using similar data as what the real estate agents have. Because we're all members of the MLS, we all use the same data. We may interpret it differently, but it's not that drastically different. So we have to do different things on our side of the coin, but we're still looking at similar data. So if the real estate agents are trained and they know what they're doing and how to price a property according to what the market's currently doing, you might be wasting your money getting an appraisal up front.
Okay.
So
then,
because we don't, what they're asking us is to predetermine what the market's going to do. And if I had that, if we had that information, we'd be millionaires.
right. It can differentiate between 3 months, 6 months, or a year down the line.
It can go any which way.
Okay, that is very, very true. That's a good point. So the last thing that I want to differentiate between, as far as the loan process goes, and we have conventional loan appraisals, and we have FHA and VA type loan appraisals. Do you handle those differently, or are they all the same?
So, well, again, the basic premise of it is the same. We're still trying to determine a market value based on relevant factors of the property. So where they differentiate is each end user of a property, whether it's we may do an appraisal for ABC Bank over here. They're going to end up selling that loan out. So the end user of that appraisal report and the loan is going to be down the road. Eventually, is going to get to Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, VA, FHA, or some other investor. So those investors have different guidelines that we have to do our appraisals, not the data, but how we perform our inspections. So FHA wants to know things like, is the water running? Does the furnace turn on? Does the attic have adequate insulation? Does the crawl space have 18 inches or at least adequate space to be worked on? That's FHA. Conventional doesn't have near as many things. They want to know basic quality condition and make sure there's no deficient items that's going to cause a problem with the loan down the road. So, we can still flag anything we want if we think there's going to be a detrimental condition to the house. Doesn't matter whether it's FHA or conventional. VA's kind of in the middle of that. VA has some guidelines that they want the appraiser to determine, whether on condition items or functional items, that they want to be sure that the veteran who's buying the home isn't going to be holding the pail at the end of the day. So
okay, very good.
But the premise of the appraisal report itself is the same.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Cade, for being with us. There are so many more questions, I'm sure, as listeners that you may have. And so I invite you to find Cade on your local internet, and he will help you out with all of that. Thank you for tuning in. And as always, you can connect with all of us on our social media channels below. Thank you so much.